Hey everyone, just a quick little thing here. In this video I recorded, you're gonna get my camera's audio, my phone's audio, which isn't as good quality. I did use my mic in the recording, my nicer mic, but my computer, something just went wrong and it didn't end up recording the audio for the video. Luckily, I still have the audio from my phone, so the video is not totally lost, but if, the video sound isn't as good as it normally is, that is why, because my nicer audio corrupted and all that. So just wanted to let you guys know that. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you guys later. Hey everyone, Dylan back here with another video today. My long-awaited iOS versus Android for blind accessibility. Which do I think is better? Do I think you should jump ship to one from the other? And all that good stuff. I'm not very good at being structured with things. My mind I don't have a script. I'm blind, so I couldn't read the script even if I could. So I'm gonna do my best here to explain things. If you don't remember, for most of my life, I have always used Android, and then when I went blind, I still used Android and used TalkBack and the blind accessibility that Android has. And then only recently, a couple months ago, I got my first Apple product, which was the iPad mini, the new one. And so this was my first time using iOS and using VoiceOver and its accessibility and all its different things. So I'm gonna start by maybe going over what each one has and maybe my complaints about it. So let's just start out with iOS. So my experience with iOS was good. There were some annoyances, and some of them not necessarily due to accessibility, but more on certain things. Like, one thing that Android lets you do that it could be a good or bad thing is that if on Android with TalkBack, if you put your two fingers together instead of tapping with one finger, tap with two fingers together, it can actually act as a normal tap, like as if you didn't have the accessibility screen reader on, which can be nice when some things don't work on Android, or whatever, you can kind of get around it by doing that tap. iOS doesn't have that. It is always just in that mode, so no matter if you double tap anywhere, you can't get out of it, right? It's just that. Now, that could be a good thing, because I know on Android, sometimes I've accidentally hit something with two fingers, well, just move, like grabbing the phone or whatever, or moving it, and then it activates something, which is really annoying. And that doesn't really happen on iOS, so it can be it's kind of a double-edged sword in some ways. Another thing that's really annoying is when you want to do a software update for iOS, you have to put your password in. It's like, why do I, on Android, you just download the update and then install it. I don't understand why I have to put a password in on iOS to update my thing. It just seems weird to me, and it's annoying. Another thing, I don't know if this is necessarily for accessibility either, but adding a payment method was kind of a pain in the butt on iOS. God, it just wasn't as easy and straightforward as it is on Android to add a payment method. I had to do all these things, and sometimes it didn't work. I eventually had to take a picture or something of my card, I think, or my ID or something to prove that it was my bank account, and all this stuff. It is complicated. I eventually got it to work, but it was way more annoying than it should have been. And that's just a user experience type thing. Now, there are, for some things on iOS, there are some very good things on iOS. So for instance, if you guys know, there is things that you can choose on what you want the thing to focus on. So ordinarily, and this is for iOS and Android, for TalkBack and VoiceOver, you swipe your finger right, you kind of move down the screen, you swipe it left, you move up the screen from item to item. Then what you can do is swipe up or down to navigate through a specific selection. So you basically, for instance, you would select that you want that to be set on headings. So you set it on headings, and then you swipe up or down, and it'll go through headings. Or you could do links. Now, the way you choose this is better on iOS, just 100 times better. The rotary system or whatever, where you put your fingers on it and turn it like a knob to switch through the different choices like headings, links, and stuff that you want to navigate through is way better. Because on Android, what you have to do is you have to take your finger and you have to swipe up and then down to go down through the options, and then you have to swipe down and then up to go back up through the options. And it's really annoying just doing that motion alone. And because it's up and down like that, you can accidentally switch what it's focused on. There's so many times where the spoken language gets switched to, and then it switches to a different language, and then I'm just swiping through, and then it'll just start reading in a different language, and I'm like, what is going on here? That's happened a lot. Or it's like I said, because it's just an up and down, you might accidentally activate that. But with the rotary system being able to just turn it on the iOS, you're never going to accidentally do that. Like, more than likely, you're never going to accidentally do that. So I like that better. Links work better on iOS, just kind of clicking on links. In my experience, sometimes it just doesn't work on Android for certain links, but on iOS it does. So there's that. I will say, I feel like on some accessibility things it works a little smoother. I will say that searching through the options of the accessibility stuff for iOS, I think, is worse. I feel like Android is a little better with how it is laid out. I feel like iOS, maybe this is just me being used to Android, but I feel like the iOS options, finding them more, like what I was specifically looking for, was a little more difficult. And like, don't even get me started about the punctuation reading thing, because that was a pain in the butt on iOS. Like, because it would read out all the punctuation, so it'd be like semicolon, percent, like, and at, like, it would just, like, I would have all these different like punctuation marks in between words, and so it's like word, like 5 punctuation marks, word, 5 punctuation marks, and it was really annoying, and it was a pain to figure out how to fix it. Because I'm okay with like commas being read out, but I don't need a bunch of like hyphens and like all this other stuff. So and I looked and scoured online, I just could not find a real good way to do it. I had to figure it out on my own. I eventually did, but it was a pain to figure out what it would read out and how to change it and stuff. So that's kind of an annoyance as well. I'm trying to think if there's anything. I did go with an iOS device because I thought that it was going to have more accessible games. That's what I really felt, and I thought by doing the research. It's true that it has more than Android, but not as much more as I was thinking. It seems kind of like PC, like, has a lot more accessible stuff because people can make accessible mods for stuff. But iOS does have more accessible games. Not a ton more, but enough more to make it kind of worth it, in my opinion. Also, finding accessible games is a lot easier because you could just go onto like Apple Viz and search through there. There's people who make videos on iOS games, so it's kind of a lot easier to find the games. Like, I made a video on how to find Android games, blind accessible, because it's hard to find them. There's not a big community like there is with like Apple and Apple Viz that goes over the blind Android games, so it's kind of hard. There are a few, but it's really hard, so it's way easier to find on like Apple Viz and through iOS, so I will say to that. But through those kind of things, another thing is on Android, a lot more games are free. And now, I don't think this is the biggest deal in the world, because most games and apps aren't that expensive on iOS. They're like $3, $4, $5 typically. And while most, like a lot of Android games are, they just have ads. And so that could be a benefit. Maybe you don't want to spend a lot of money. Android games and stuff are typically just ad supported. You could pay to get rid of the ads, but they are free, a lot more free apps. Although, when it comes to helpful apps, everyone should probably know this app. It's called Seeing AI, and it's on iOS. And I've just been messing around with it recently because I've used Envision AI, which is on both platforms, but Envision AI is on Android as well, and that's the one I was using. And it kind of lets you read text around you, look at colors, telling you what color something is, and just all that kind of stuff. But the Envision AI app is actually a subscription. You get a 14-day free trial on it, and then you have to pay like $2 a month. Now, it's not really a big deal, honestly. But for some people, like the Seeing AI app on iOS, it's made by Microsoft, and it's free. And it does pretty much the same thing. I can't tell you if one is better than the other because I've only messed around with Seeing AI a little bit. And it's on like an iPad. Like, it might, even if it's a mini iPad, it's still an iPad, so it's a little unwieldy to point the camera at something and use it so easily. So I can't tell you if Seeing AI is better or worse, but it seems pretty good from what I've used, and probably just as good, and it's free. So that's another thing to think about there. I don't know. These are kind of my thoughts and feelings on some of the differences. I'm trying to think of other differences, but in a lot of ways they are the same. They're very similar, but in others there's not. I mean, for Android, they have bottom buttons to where you can go back home. You can click a back button. iOS has back buttons sometimes at the kind of like top left-ish of the screen area. Not all do, and it's kind of weird, but it's fine. They don't have a home button but you just tap on the bottom and raise your finger up. It's not really a hard gesture or anything. So as far as that goes, I will say like screen recording is better on Apple because you can record your voice and the screen at the same time, and it just kind of records better quality of sound. I've messed around with the Android one, and it's not really as good a quality, so there's kind of that for people who might care about that. I don't know, that's as much as I can think of. If you had to, here's my final verdict for the most part. If you're on Android or iOS, I don't feel like you have to jump from one to the other. I think you will be perfectly fine on either one of them. They will serve you well. Android is still constantly, evolving their accessibility and getting better, so there is that. But yeah, so I don't think one is necessarily better than the other. I think you'll be fine. You don't have to jump from one to the other. If you had to put a gun to my head and made me choose which one overall for accessibility do I think is better, I'm gonna have to say iOS. Because most things just kind of work. And I will admit, on Android, sometimes things don't work and can be a little bit more weird, but there's some trade-offs, right? I think it's fine either way. I'm not saying iOS is just leagues above Android, because that's not true. But if you really had to pick, I think it's slightly better. And there are some more game options for accessibility games. So, keep that in mind. Although, I will say, as far as price goes, like the cheapest device I think you can get is like their newest normal iPad for like $329. You can probably get $150 Android phone. It probably won't be as powerful or maybe as nice, but it can get you by. So Android does have some cheaper phone options if a budget is kind of an issue. And if you do go with a budget option like an Android phone, be assured that it'll still work fine. It'll still work good and get you by. But, because Apple products are a bit more expensive. But that's kind of my overall takeaway. I feel like maybe there were some other things I wanted to talk about, but, this is everything that came off the top of my head. So I hope I've done a okay job of explaining my thoughts. I'm by no means am a master at iOS, because I've only had it for 3 months. I don't know everything. So feel free to chime in if there's some other things you'd like to mention in the comments about what some issues you have with iOS or Android and what your thoughts and opinions are on iOS versus Android, which one you think is better, and all that good stuff. Just leave your comments below, and if you have any other questions, comment those below too, and I'll try to answer them. But yes, thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, and subscribe if you really like things, and all that good stuff in comment, like I said. Yes, but thank you guys for watching, and thank you guys for listening. That's been it for me. I will see you guys in the next video.